While some people can afford a nice Rolex watch, most of us know that a Timex watch will keep time just as good. And in some ways, this kind of logic can be applied to PC gamers when they are selecting a gaming keyboard. So today, I am going to go through my picks for best budget gaming keyboards so that you guys don't have to break the piggy bank to be competitive. All items in this video are my own personal choices and are listed in no particular order, as these kind of items are of a personal preference. But with that said, these are the items that I feel stand out as the best. Prices have not been included in this video, as the prices for these items are changing all the time, especially during holiday sale events. I have, however, included links to the current best prices for each of these items in the description below. With all that out of the way, let's get started. The MSI Vigor GK30 RGB is a budget full-size keyboard from a well-known company that doesn't feel budget in the least. Its keys are a combination of mechanical and membrane, giving the key presses a switch-like feel while using a membrane and a plunger to simulate a mechanical-like response and feel. The RGB on this keyboard is really good. It uses the MSI Mystic Sync technology, which allows you to tailor it to the rest of the RGB in your system. And if you're using any other MSI products on your system, like an MSI motherboard, MSI mouse, or MSI headphones, then you will actually be able to sync your RGB perfectly amongst those devices. It's a great gaming keyboard whether or not your system revolves around MSI products, but if you do have other MSI products and want a more cohesive experience, then this keyboard is a really great choice. The SteelSeries Apex 3 is a full-size USB membrane keyboard. It is made of plastic and does have a bit of flex to it. In fact, if you are a heavy gamer who presses his or her keys very hard, then you will actually notice that the keyboard frame will concave and flex slightly when pressing the keys hard. The RGB has 10 different zones that can be configured, and for a budget gaming keyboard, you'd be hard pressed to find a keyboard that allows you to control the RGB of every key individually, so don't expect that kind of customization here. But the RGB that is here looks beautiful. The Apex 3 comes with a wrist rest that is made of a hard plastic and attaches to the keyboard magnetically. It serves its purpose and does its job. Overall, this is a compelling keyboard that offers great performance and looks for its price range. The REDRAGON K55 is a full-size keyboard that has some weight to it. It has a full metal construction that weighs it down, so don't worry about this thing moving around on your desk. Oh, and it also has some of the best looking RGB colors for a keyboard in this price range. It comes with your choice of either all brown or all red switches, but they also give you a sample pack to test which switches you like out of brown, red, black, and blue, so that you can order ones that you like. This in itself is very impressive, as you normally don't find true mechanical switches on a keyboard within this price range. The only con I found with this keyboard is the lack of a wrist rest. It's a pretty keyboard and not everyone will require a wrist rest, but I feel they should have included one. With the Logitech G413 TKL Special Edition, Logitech opted to not include some of the flashy features like RGB, to instead include better mechanical keys. No fancy RGB here, just a minimal white backlight under the keys. The keys are mechanical Kali box brown switches, which are rated for over 50 million clicks. The body is a low-profile all-aluminum brushed metal that looks and feels minimal, but it's still sexy. This is the TKL version shown here. The TKL means no numpad, but there is also a full-size version that includes a numpad for $10 more. For the price, it's a minimalistic but quality USB keyboard. The HyperX alloy core is a good addition to the plethora of budget keyboards out there. The RGB has good colors and looks great, and the effects for the RGB are controlled through the keyboard itself and not through any software that you have to install on your computer, which is nice. It includes 2 keys for configuring the RGB, 1 key to disable the Windows key during game sessions, and 3 media keys, all lined up at the top of the keyboard and out of the way. The keys are membrane keys, which are very quiet, but the lack of a clickety feel might be a turnoff to some people who are used to a more clicky feeling, clicky sounding keyboard. For the price, this full-size USB keyboard is not a bad deal, especially coming from a respectable company like HyperX. The Logitech G413 Prodigy is a pretty basic USB corded gaming keyboard. It is a slim keyboard that has comfortable membrane key switches, and its RGB is divided into 5 zones, so unfortunately you cannot program the RGB for each key individually. Its body is a durable hard plastic with a wrist rest that does its job perfectly. I look at this keyboard as being a little tank. It's tough and should be able to hold up to years of heavy gaming range. The Razer Cynosa version 2 is a full-size, low-profile USB gaming keyboard. Its main upgrade from the Cynosa version 1 is that they added dedicated media keys to the keyboard. Otherwise, it's pretty much the same. The build quality is not as great as some of Razer's more premium offerings, but this is a budget keyboard after all, so that's to be expected. No braided USB cable here, just a plastic keyboard that looks sleek and gets the job done. The bottom of the keyboard does, however, have built-in cable management, which is pretty sweet. The software for this device controls all things RGB, as well as allowing you to add custom profiles, key bindings, and macros. Overall, this is a keyboard that is lacking in some build quality and has some pretty good RGB, but is still a good feature-rich keyboard. So I just got done talking about the Razer Cynosa version 2, and I said that it was lacking in some build quality, but has some pretty good RGB. Well, with the Razer Ornata version 3, we have the opposite. A good keyboard with good build quality, but has some poor RGB. One big difference is that the Razer Ornata version 3 uses mecha membrane switches that feel a lot like blue mechanical switches, giving you a nice clickety tactile feel. Another difference with this keyboard is that we get a nice braided cable and a comfortable wrist rest that has a nice rubberized feel to it and connects to the keyboard magnetically. Just like the Razer Cynosa version 2, the Razer Ornata version 3 includes the same built-in cable management beneath the keyboard. Overall, if looking for a budget Razer keyboard, choose the Cynosa version 2 if RGB is more important to you, and choose the Ornata version 3 if build quality is more important to you. But if you want both, then pay attention to the next keyboard. With the Corsair K55, we get what we would expect from Corsair, and that's quality, making this my choice for best budget keyboard. It is an all-plastic keyboard, but it is a very sturdy plastic that shouldn't give you any problems, and includes a clip-on rubberized wrist rest that is large, comfortable, and clean looking. The keys are the typical membrane keys that you would expect to find on a budget keyboard. On the left side of the keyboard, you will find 6 G keys, which you can program to any command, key binding, or macro that you want. I appreciate this inclusion, as I love G keys, which you usually only find on some of the higher-end Corsair and Logitech keyboards. On the top right, you will find your media keys, and being that it's a full-size keyboard with 120 keys, you do have a full numpad. The RGB is really clean and uses the same Corsair IQ software that they use on their more expensive keyboards, but it is zonal and not per key RGB illumination. Honestly, it may monopolize your desk space, but if you're looking for a full-size RGB keyboard with extra keys at a price that won't break the bank, look no further. The ROCCAT Vulcan mechanical gaming keyboard represents a powerful combination of technological innovation, robustness, and illumination. It marks the first ROCCAT keyboard to feature in-house developed Titan switches. The switches, designed from the ground up, were built for gamers craving a keystroke that was smooth and low resistance while still being fast. They were also designed to keep dust and dirt out of the actual keyboard, helping to keep this keyboard in top condition. The keys have a satisfying mild click that won't really disturb those people that are nearby if you happen to be using this in an office. The volume knob is not overturned or overly sensitive and has reasonably spaced steps between intervals. The keyboard body is reinforced by an aircraft-grade aluminum layer to make it extra strong and durable. There's a detachable palm rest which attaches easily to the keyboard by magnets. It is comfortable and serves its purpose well. Overall, this is a fantastic wired keyboard that performs well, feels awesome, and looks great. If there is one thing I would fault this keyboard for, it would be the software. The software can seem clunky at times, and will probably get updated and fixed over time, but the software alone would cause me, personally, to consider the before mentioned Corsair K55 RGB over this keyboard. It's a personal preference thing. Catch you next time.